Hello everybody, it is the Law Gnome and welcome back to another DCU update. So I'm sure that you guys remember my previous video, which did not actually happen long ago, that specifically felt as if I was closing the chapter here on this channel regarding DC animation, but fear not, I did say that there was going to be other DC animated projects that I was going to discuss over here, and even though I have another channel which features comic books and comic book animated series and movies and stuff like that, when it comes to DC animation, I come back to my own channel because this is where I started talking about DC animation, not to mention my most successful Gnome doc, which was all about the DC animated universe. So today we're going to be talking about a show that a lot of people have been talking about, especially now it is available on Amazon Prime, completely available for streaming, the entire first season of this brand new show. Ladies and gentlemen, Bruce Timm is back, and he has given us the very first solo Batman animated series in quite some time. And it's not just him, but there are some very well-known names that are attached to this show as well. And we're talking about Batman, Crusader, Season 1. We also have the likes of James Tucker, J.J. Abrams, Matt Reeves, and even Ed Brubaker, which is a big surprise to me. I had no idea that he was attached to the show. These guys are all producers on this show, and you see them in the credits every single time. So, was I excited about the fact that Bruce Timm was coming back to give us a brand new Batman animated series that was really going to look to a certain degree and feel to a certain degree like the classic show that took pop culture by storm? Honestly, I really wasn't sure what to think of it. There was a little bit of excitement, but of course there was a little bit of skepticism, because can you really create the exact same thing? Can you capture that exact same magic in a bottle that not only Bruce Timm did with the original Batman animated series, but did it numerous times afterwards with shows like Superman, Justice League, Teen Titans, you name it. He managed to do it numerous times. So after many years of doing this, he's back to give us something new. And I think I use the term lightly when I say new, because there's a lot of stuff that people are talking about regarding this show. One thing you are not going to necessarily see over here on this video is the discussion or the debate or sometimes the praiseworthy to the absolute disgusted, the infamous diversity, equity, and inclusion stuff that you see in this show. I am not going to be talking about it, except for the fact that I am going to say, it's there, you see it, it slaps you right in the face. Plain and simple. Does my inner fanboy get a little upset about it from time to time? I'm not going to lie and say yes, because when it comes to established characters that have been in the world of popular culture for many years, and then all of a sudden you make a drastic change like that, it's very different from using a character that not that many people know about and do all that to that character. You have more of an open canvas, you have a little bit more playroom, and you have the ability to do great things with those characters. Case in point, The Eternals, which is still a Marvel movie that I have high praises for. I really do enjoy it. But when you take a look at certain characters that you have seen for many years, and all of a sudden they're just not the same characters, maybe not necessarily in the way that they act, but more so in the way they look, it can just be not something that you want to throw your remote control at the television for, but you do feel a little bit weird about it, plain and simple. But for me, as a human being in this world that loves Batman, you give me a great story, great character development, and of course excellent characters that I can relate to based on their voices and their actions, then I'm not going to give two hoots about diversity, race swapping, gender swapping. That's not going to bother me at all. I didn't necessarily get that. There are some very positive things to take away from this show, but there's a lot of negative to take away from this show as well. So, the thing that I will say that is the most positive about this show is the atmosphere. I love how it is definitely something that was made for people that grew up with Batman the Animated Series, because it is a very dark, very atmospheric, very deep theological thinking show, and it's definitely something that a mature watcher is going to be invested in, and not necessarily a child. What I really appreciated was how it truly captures the early years of Batman, because that's what this is really supposed to be. It's the first couple of years of Batman being Batman, and we get that true golden age of comic books feel. We get a true noir atmosphere based on those classic films and television shows from that time frame. We get the look of the characters, the feel of the characters. It really does feel like a story of old, and that is probably one of the highest praises that I can give it. I also do appreciate some of the voice actors that they got for this show. We got Christina Ricci to voice this show's version of Selina Kyle, Diedrich Bader, who has lent his voice to DC Animation many times as Harvey Dent, aka Two-Face, and Hamish Linklater. There's promise. I loved how he really tried to capture his inner Kevin Conroy, and I will not lie that there were moments while I was watching that show where I really thought that Kevin Conroy had slipped into Hamish Linklater's body and said a couple of lines. It sort of felt from time to time that Kevin Conroy was there, and I appreciate that. I feel that Hamish has a little bit of work to do. Not necessarily saying that he's terrible, but one of the few things that Kevin Conroy did beautifully was give us a true, distinct voice of Batman and Bruce Wayne. Hamish Linklater definitely feels like he had improved upon his voice acting from the beginning of the show towards the end of the show, but one of the few things that I specifically know of how Kevin Conroy, after seeing Batman the Animated Series and other incarnations where he voiced Batman over the years, when he was playing Batman and the cape and cowl is on, it's a dark, gravelly, haunting voice, and at the end of every Batman phrase, his voice goes down. When it is Bruce Wayne, it is a little bit more vibrant, a little bit more happy-go-lucky, a little bit playboyish, as Bruce Wayne is supposed to be, and at the end of every phrase, his voice goes up. I feel that Hamish needs to find that distinction. I think he's almost got it towards the end of the show, but he definitely was struggling at the beginning. And I also feel that was another negative about the show. I felt that the pacing, especially when it came to the dialogue, was just not great. There's definitely improvement there. Not to say that every episode was horrible. I found some episodes, however, to be quite boring and a little bit flat. But there were some episodes that I absolutely adored, especially the 8th episode of the show, not just because of the story that was involved, but more so a lot of the Easter eggs that were featured in that one specific episode. It was a villain that I never actually saw before, even though I know that it was right out of the comics, and I really did appreciate that. A huge negative about this show was Harley Quinn, or Harleen Quinzel. Nothing to do with the diversity, equity, and inclusion aspect of Harley Quinn, but just this character was... It's not Harley Quinn. Harley Quinn has been incarnated in so many different ways, whether you look at the original voicing of Arlene Sorkin, to the recent Kaylee Cuoco voicing her, and I'll even go into the live-action world and talk about Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn. But at least, even though there are points where it's very light and fluffy, and then there are some points where it's really hard-hitting and dark, Harley Quinn still had that villainous smile, that infectious giggle and laugh, and we just don't get that from this version of Harley Quinn. And I also really did not like this character's personality as Harleen Quinzel. At the beginning, I did like it. It was very serious, very debonair, and then all of a sudden she gets very bubbly and just not herself. She just didn't feel like the same person. I felt like I had two different people in this show, and some of her lines were just so over-the-top goofy and just not as the great Harley Quinn lines of old. Yes, there were some very giggly, goofy lines that Harley Quinn had in the past, but they were done with taste and style, not this time around. It just didn't hit the marks there. I mean, I would love to see what may happen in this show if she does encounter you-know-who, and what that might end up doing to her, but for now, we just have to leave it the way it is, because this is all we have. And the other thing that I have heard about this show is that it has been renewed for a second season, and I will definitely say, much like My Adventures with Superman, that I also felt was a little all over the place when its first season aired. There will be a review of Season 2 coming very soon, and I'm just going to give you guys a little tease. I am liking Season 2 of My Adventures with Superman much more than I liked Season 1. And I feel it's just because of the fact that, like My Adventures with Superman, Batman Caped Crusader just came to us, and now it just needs to find its footing. There's a great post-credit scene of at the last episode, and I am hoping that it ends up being a success. I did a little bit of research after I watched the whole show. I watched it in 2 days, 5 episodes one day and 5 episodes the next, and I heard about a little bit of the controversy, about the fact that even though there were some powerhouse names attached to this new animated series, the fact that Warner Brothers didn't even want to showcase this show on its own streaming service and sold it off to Amazon Prime says a little something about the show in general. I really hope that now that it has been renewed, I would very much hope that they watch the show, learn from their mistakes, and give us a very strong and lovable Season 2, because anything DC animation, especially if Bruce Timm is attached to it, I want to give it as much support as I possibly can. And that's what I did with the first season of Batman Caped Crusader. I feel that there is potential. Lots of very positive potential, regardless of all the negativity that people are talking about. And again, the DEI, just give me a good story and it doesn't matter. That's what everybody truly wants in this world. They just want good stories, good characters. And that's the whole package that we all yearn for when it comes to something that we truly love. Because we got X-Men 97 this year, and there was so much to love about that show. There really was. I think it was a wonderful show. I'm also glad that I watched Batman Caped Crusader Season 1. And those are my thoughts. So thank you very much for watching, everybody. Leave your comments in the box below. Let's talk Batman Caped Crusader, and I will see you in the next one. If you enjoyed the video you just watched, feel free to leave a comment. Also, feel free to subscribe if you want to be up to date with our latest videos. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we'll see you in the next one. Actions speak louder than words.